situation. And I don't know if that's exactly true. What I am trying to say to you is that when I read this, I find this is subjective, because when you read this, it tells you that everything is okay, and we've even declared that, you know, there's no correlation to brain pediatric to brain cancer. So, this is what you've written, so I mean, it sounds...
What you just said was different. Can I clarify real quickly?
No,
what you're saying is...
Because you've interrupted me a couple of times. I guess my point is that if you feel, if you're not willing to say that these are conclusive tests, and that they're all clear on the drinking water, then this statement is just as subjective as someone else taking the position that because this incident reported in 2001, we have a problem with our drinking water. My whole point to this is that these are making declarations that I don't think we were ever destined to make. We shouldn't be summarizing. If we want to accept what's been given, I believe that the tests that have been taken up to date are probably not contaminated, and they're probably not been compromised, and I think that they're probably valid tests. I think that now becomes a part of the puzzle. So if it's a part of the puzzle, we don't have a summary. A summary statement is premature.
Valid point, valid point.
But could I respond?
Quickly, yes.
The reason for me saying this was not my opinion. Because if you'll recall when the FDP, nobody said there's no evidence. And that wasn't me saying that. What I did, if you'll remember, I had a list of about 10 questions that I questioned, who was the fellow from Tallahassee that became the water quality expert, Dr. Cross? The water quality expert, I can't remember his name, but anyway.
Drop a blank. We know you're talking about. Go ahead.
Joe Lurch, you know what I'm talking about.
Jeff Newton?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeff.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
Jeff. I asked him pointedly these kinds of questions that would get to that. Is there any evidence? Is there any reason to do it anymore? I asked him a whole bunch of questions. So this statement is based not just on my thinking about it, it's based upon the evidence he collects with the data and his summation of those questions.
And I knew that we may take a vote on whether we agree or disagree with the statement as it stands.
I think you can table it.
Yeah, we don't have to
however you want to go about it.
I think you should just table it until you have an opportunity to review the report.
Absolutely.
And maybe until South Florida Water Management can come and discuss with us surface water, how water flows through here, because we're not only trying to determine if the water is good right now, but was it good back when? Is it going to be good tomorrow and next year? Because we didn't spend all this money and do all this and fear to just do it again in 5-10 years. My goal is to watch the numbers, see if they ebb and flow, and if you know, how do I word what I'm trying to say? We each have someone, part of the community that's watching, and we're up here each with our own opinion. And if I agree to this right now, I am telling everyone everything is okay from the testing, and that we don't need to do any more testing. And I have now been advised of some things that I feel I might need more testing. So we are nowhere near this. We've only had 2 meetings. We're nowhere near ready.
So do you second Bill's motion to table this approval? Or the summary?
This is not approval.
Just, I mean, I didn't mean approval, the summary report.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then just...
I'll second it.
No, she did. You're chair. You
I'll
can't.
third it. Jack, you had...
And then you need to do all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry.
There was a comment made that we did no testing for anything associated with rocket fuel. That's not true. We tested for perchlorate in the groundwater. We didn't find it. There were some statements made that we did not test for PCBs, vinyl chlorides, other metals. I didn't bring the list of what we tested for, but it's extensive. But
I didn't say you didn't test for it, Jack. I was questioning what was found in the report that Maura had. It was hydrazine that you did not test for, which I think your guy said was a part of rocket fuel.
Yeah, and I think if Well, I think the perchlorate gives us an idea as to whether we needed to do more testing related to rocket fuel. I'm not a chemist or a scientist, but that's my understanding. We can get you a more in-depth answer to that question. But we did test for an extensive number of constituents, and they're listed on our website. So you can go there, you can see every single thing that we tested for. But I just want to make it clear that we had tested for perchlorate and for these other constituents or possible contaminants that were mentioned tonight.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
I know we're living in a culture today that likes to vilify the big bad corporations and big bad industries. And hear me out. Hear me out. We also rely on our government as our protective agency to enforce environmental issues when necessary. And we're sitting here listening to a gentleman from DEP. We're basing a lot of our information based on the evidence of people like the DEP and others, health departments, and so forth. These people have the right and the ability to fine a company like Pratt Whitney thousands and thousands of dollars per day for violating environmental issues. And they've been under watch for what, back to '88, what was the original spill that they got in trouble with? It's you know, it's been a company like Pratt here in our backyard. They back in '88, even before that, there weren't a lot of this stuff. We weren't real environmental savvy, but today I guarantee you they rack the butts quick, and to the tune of lots of money. And then they also know they have the contingent liability with lawsuits and different things to come out with millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. We're seeing that with BP right now. And so, you know, I think we have to back off a little bit when we hear something like this. It's been out there for, what, 10 years now, 9 years. Nobody knows about it except reports in the government. And DPR never got in touch with it. Nobody ever picked up the phone and called and said, hey, we've got a problem with Pratt Whitney. You need to go out there and check them out. So I think, you know, this is a big issue that we're dealing with. And we need to be careful jumping off the deep end.
Okay, thank you. Michelle, you had a?
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment that every single person sitting up here is a concerned resident, and we're volunteering our time, and everybody has different backgrounds in education and qualifications, etc. And I just wanted to say that I on Mike's behalf, he's got a little attack there, and I don't think anybody expected the report, but let's give him credit that he took the time, because you have to be able to take the time to at least have the discussion. Like, he made the present. No, let me finish, because I'm going to go somewhere else in a second. That you have to put something on paper. Somebody had to do the work so that you can say, delete this, add that, or change this, or switch this, or look into that. No differently than Bill had the respect from the focus group to take the lead in the initiative to approach South Florida Water Management District. Everybody here respected you tremendously to go take that lead and submit a request and question. So I just want to make sure that we always are reminded to respect each other and to respect each other's work, because the whole point of this is we all love our community and want to work, live, and play in a safe place again. So I'm just saying that as the peacemaker, that's all. So I'm not going to say anymore.
Thank you. Stephanie?
We've just started one quick thing, and not trying to be argumentative, but also I don't think that we're jumping off the deep end, and that's not what we're looking at with it. You know, there's lots of reports, there's lots of things out there. People are not too happy. People are not. I grew up in a very different culture, and for me, this is all very foreign to see this sort of thing. So I think that knowledge is power. And I think that for us to have information about this and for us to take a look at it and say, you know, is this something else that we need to explore? And is this something that, because of the consultants that were used, and it was not DEP who did any testing, and we don't know whether or not DEP knew about it, I don't think that it's a bad thing for our community for us to be able to have it. And I don't think that people are looking at the fact that Pratt is there and, oh, we're going to get them. That's not, at least personally, and from the folks that, you know, I have become friends with. I do not see that. I see it as people who are concerned with our community. And just as Michelle was saying, we want to feel comfortable with being in our community, raising our families here, being here a long time. I certainly did not move to the Acreage for anything other than that. So I think we all just want to see the right thing done, and we want to know that we're going to be healthy and we can be here for many years.
I'm not accusing anybody of being, out to see people or anything. I'm just trying to put a perspective. I actually had some experience of being on the other end of DER violations and was threatened with $10,000 day lawsuits or $10,000 day fines if I didn't correct it. So I've been there, done that. I know the power they have. I know what they can do to you real quick, financially and otherwise, and I was just a little peon. Okay, so I know they have the power. And it's all I'm saying is that then we are turning around and relying on the information they provide for us to tell us whether we're clean or not. They're the police force. They haven't cited Pratt with anything that they did since, 98 or 88? That they've cited them with anything that was a problem or fined them for anything, to my knowledge. And so, I mean, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying we need to keep it in perspective here and what all's going on at Pratt before we start blaming Pratt or sugar, or big orange, or big anything else. Be careful.
As it relates to the issue with Pratt and Whitney, one, I do think we should go ahead and get a copy of whatever reports, the memorandums that are being referenced, and we should make sure that the DOH and the DEP has them. But I would also like to ask the DEP to research their old files concerning the original incidences out there, and they're continuing to monitor them today. So, as I said, we're speculating as to whether or not DEP does know about it, doesn't know about it, has been, watching it, looking at it. They may have very well been monitoring this all along. We don't know, and that's a question I think we should find out.
Yeah, we'll ask them formally to respond to this, absolutely.
And that's all.
Okay, great, let's put this one to bed. So Michelle, you're going to take the action to
I'll
pull that
on
report,
behalf of the group and
distribute
give
it,
public
and then
records.
we'll issue a formal statement to the DEP, DOH to please respond to this, and then let's turn over that stone. Make sure satisfies everybody.
I think I have that paper at home.
I believe that the questions that we turned in, have a lot of questions in there, that it certainly, it shouldn't miss that event.
Right, now let's and then before we have the South Florida Water Management.
So I would assume that when they come in, they're already going to have the answers for it.
So,
They are preparing. She just mentioned that some of those questions overlap departments, so they have to correlate with each other. So it just
What
took a
I'm
little
saying in
time.
regard to this environmental assessment, there's specific questions in there that
great,
certainly would bring that to light.
great, let's double hit it, absolutely.
Can
Absolutely.
we meet sooner than in a month?
Yeah, that's, Deanne, let's address that next meeting date, absolutely. Absolutely, okay. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's get something a little bit lighter. Dr. Lauda, you want to do your quick thing? Yeah, let's take a little break here. Next week we'll get a little breath of fresh air, Dr. Lauda.
No, I know you.
Yeah, priest or rabbi, no. Okay. All I wanted to say is that, last time I talked about radium in the water out here, that in the shallow aquifer, about 20% of the wells had over 5 picocuries of radium, and I was trying to get something going to start figuring out what's going on in the geology. I've been working with the USGS. I got a letter from Lisa Conti at the Surgeon General's office of the DOH saying that she's going to follow up and ask DEP to see if they can find the funding to go with USGS, which has a co-op program to do coring. So they figure about 16 to 18 individual wells out there and start to find out where the layers are that are providing the radium and maybe get an idea of where you want to go with wells to make sure you're there. But in lieu of that, you've talked about it tonight, maintain your water systems. That's the best thing. I got a call from Senator Nelson's office today saying also he's going to be checking into seeing if we can get something rolling. So if anyone is interested in following up on that and helping this project, I get nothing on this. I want to get these holes drilled, find out where the uranium barium deposits are that are generating the radium, and go fishing. So I'm not involved. Hello, boys, come back. I am having a new water system All I've got's a water softener, period. I'm drinking out of the same well, you know. Anyway, just maintain your water systems, and if you want to see if you can help write your county commissioners or whatever and say that the USGS coring program sounds like a good idea. If you don't think it's a good idea, then be quiet.
Thanks, Dr. Loud. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll take a moment just to recognize House Representative Joseph Abruzzo is in attendance in the audience. So just welcome, and just want everyone to know that he's here.
Thank you for coming. Next on the agenda is our future guest speaker from the Cancer Data Registry and the Department of Health. We were attempting to get someone here for this meeting. However, to the sensitivity of the issue and the time required to prepare for it as well, we decided to postpone it for a future meeting. What I would like to do, and Patricia's already started, is go ahead and put our request to gather all the questions together concerning that topic, because I imagine it's going to be pretty extensive as well, and give them proper time to prepare for that. So if you guys want to start putting together your thoughts on that, that would be great. And I know we've all got some different opinions, just like we went through the water on this. And let's make sure we as a group, we're not going to attack anybody. We're going to be respectful to each other. We're not going to get into any personal issues. We're here all HIPAA rules. The community has some questions. I think people in the group have questions. We'd like to just get some feedback from you. Go ahead and shoot them to me. I'll compile
And
this.
who are we going to submit these to?
It's going to go to
Cancer
the
Registry database.
Department of Health and the Cancer Data Registry. It will go through the DOH, and they'll work with the Cancer Data Registry. Yeah, Doc Hogle will help us.
Some of the contacts are asking
Yes.
the DOH
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
Dr. Lauda had presented his presentation prior to, we were able to review it. Can we do that? Can we see?
Like I said, if they can gather our questions, put together a presentation and send it out, absolutely. And I think that's what they wanted to do, and it just wasn't enough time. That was one of their issues. So,
Good Chair.
yes.
I did speak to somebody with DOH the other day and asked them about the case control study. That's supposed to be done in about 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
So that would be perfect timing after that for them to be able to talk about everything that they put together so far and have good questions for them.
Sure.
Can you kind of like summarize for us what it is you're looking at or looking for, so we can dovetail these questions so they're just not all over the place? Maybe kind of get it more narrow.
Well, I think there's two things. There's one, there's the data registry. There are questions about the tumors, get into benign, malignancy, primary, secondary. There's, probably need some clarification on those for those of us who don't know it.
But not the patient.
No,
We're discussing
absolutely
the
not.
disease.
No,
Okay.
absolutely not. No, it's just
Right, I'm just
generally.
clarifying. Okay.
Operation and the function of the registry itself.
Absolutely.
Correct.
How the registry collects that data, processes that data, and then passes it on to the statisticians, who then have gone and collected all this data and processed it to come up with the declaration of a statistically elevated group of cases. So I think we want to get a little bit more information on that process. I know Mike has been making some inroads and having some discussions, and he's made some pretty good contacts who would be willing to come to us and explain that to everybody so everyone's aware of how the process has gone. So
Can you share those names with us?
Well, I talked to Dr. Tammy Johnson, who I thought was very, she works for Dr. Wong. He's the lead epidemiologist. So she's the one that's actually doing the case control study. She's writing right now.
What is her name again?
Dr. Tammy Johnson. And I just felt like she was somebody who could communicate very good. She was clear. She had, I put some things to her, and she answered them like she gave me straight answers. I felt, so I think she'd be a good speaker for us.
She's with the Cancer Registry?
She's with the FDOH.
Okay.
Yeah, DOH, we'll go through DOH to recognize someone from the registry. to come to speak to us. We haven't had any contact with the registry directly at all. So, okay. So with that said, I know Carl has done some research for us.
Yeah.
And we'll go ahead and share that as a packet that Carl passed out on the home sales.
Well, I'll read what I had just for everybody here, and then I'll work on that and talk and comment on it a little bit. I'll just read this. Based on the research concerning sales in the acreage, the cluster has definitely slowed down the market. The prices seem to remain fairly stable thus far. Lending in the acreage area continues to be a contributing factor in the market slowdown, as many lenders have made decisions to put on hold on all loans until the results of the soil tests come in, showing no indication of hazardous materials or industrial contamination. I might add, they're concerned, the lenders in the market right now are concerned with today. You know, as far as lending is concerned, they want to see a clean bill of health now based on the tests. Contrary to many skeptics, however, some lending does continue to happen. From February, the date that we were labeled the cluster, we had a cluster, pediatric cluster, to May of this year, there were 58 home sales. And I'll go through the printout in the back. Of those 58, 8 were conventional loans, which means they're 20% down. 24 were FHA or VA loans, requiring 3.5% down, and the remaining were 26 were cash transactions, which means, you know, they're not subject to appraisals, which makes it easy to purchase a home. So that being said, the sales are down. If you look at the same criteria for 2009, the same time period, we had 115 transactions. So it's almost, you know, twice as many. If you compare that to most of Palm Beach County, we've had sales increases compared to those 2009 figures. With interest rates continue to be at historic lows, and we've had an $8,000 tax credit that was available until April 30th. In conclusion, the prices in the acreage seem to be relatively stable now, but with the lending issues and the reduced traffic in the area, this stability is definitely at risk. If the DEP can indicate that we have had no environmental or industrial contamination in our soil and water, I feel the market will quickly come back. But time is of the essence. This community is still very attractive to many people, but these hurdles are currently standing in their way. Personally, I've had 4 or 5 different loans, you know, denied, and deals fall apart in this 4 to 5 month period.
Carl, can you just state for the record, you're a licensed realtor?
Yes, I'm a licensed realtor. I work for RE/MAX. I've lived here for 23 years. Looking at it, if you look at the prices from 2009, you look at the page 2, it's pretty much stayed the same. Even with 115 transactions, the median price is $164.9 in the acreage, and that's all homes. You know, 1 to 2 acres, 2 to 3, 3 to 5. This is all single-family homes. The average is $196,410, and you know, we had 115 sales from 2.2 to 5.10. I did this last week. So you look on the next page, way back, you look at 2010 stats. The median price is $164.2. So it's virtually the same, but bear in mind, most prices have started to inch up in other parts of the county. So it is definitely factoring in. In recent weeks, some lenders that said they were going to lend, PNC Bank being one, has put everything on hold. They are waiting for these soil results. So I can implore upon the DEP to you know, get that done, because there are people still wanting to purchase in the acreage. This is still a wonderful community, and you know, it's just time will heal. But they are the lenders in the market. If we have people that are willing to give money in this market, they don't care about the past really. They want to see a clean bill of health from the testing that was done within the time frame that we're in. So that's what it is.
Being that you're a local realtor, have you gone to see any of the homes of the families that are affected, that are moving?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I almost sold an Unsworth's home.
Really?
Yes. It was second choice for gentlemen from Seattle.
So you've gone to a few of them? A few of the
I'm sorry?
homes? You've gone to a few of the homes of the affected families?
That's the only one I know. That's the only one I know. I don't know, identify, I don't know who the people are. That's not shared. Shared
and
material.
how are you verbalizing, or are you showing a document at time?
We are required, since it was announced, well, even before it was announced that we are a statistical cluster, we were, you had a disclosure that you had to give prospective buyers. There are a host of buyers that want to buy here in the acreage, and they signed this disclosure. You have to disclose.
When do you disclose it?
At the time,
If they see the house, or when they offer?
I usually disclose it to them when I start riding around with them. I talk to them, I say, are you aware of what is going on in the acreage? Most people want to live here. If they're looking, they want to live here. Now, what usually happens, there's a family member or someone else in the family that talks somebody out. All right? So that's what happens. But there is good traffic, but getting money right now here in the acreage in the last 2 to 3 weeks has gotten
What
really
is the
tough.
actual document given to them, a disclosure form?
It's the Florida Association of Realtors has a disclosure that we were required to hand out as of February 2nd. And then there was another disclosure that we as RE/MAX agents, we had our own disclosure.
But what I'm saying is, if a neighbor were, or if I was going to sell my home, when would my realtor, or if I were a for sale by owner, when would I give that disclosure? I'm just trying to learn so that if I'm ever in that position.
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
Before the contract's signed. Why waste your time? If you're spending time with people and you're showing them property, bring it up right off the bat. I get a phone call. If they're not aware of it, you have to let them know about it.
So there's no, I'm saying the actual document, is there a copy that somebody has printed up that shows you?
Yeah, it's on the web. It's common knowledge. I mean,
Is that the
it's
one
even
that's
in the
on-
listings. Most people even put it in the listings. But it's pretty common knowledge, and this has been going on now since
So it's from
July of
Dr.
last year.
Alonzo, the actual, no, it's not.
No, it's a disclosure stating there's ongoing studies going on. The acreage has been designated a statistical cluster based on studies. There are ongoing tests going on, and
Can I get a copy of that when you get it?
sure, yeah.
I think it's on Florida Association of Realtors website as well, the whole disclosure.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, please, sure, thank you.
I'm a licensed mortgage broker. I've been one for 10 years. He is correct. There's a disclosure at the sign of contract. There's also the appraiser has to make note of it in his appraisal. That's actually where the
That's
majority
where
of the underwriting issues, that's where the red flag is. They look at the appraiser who resides in the area, is familiar with the area, and they review that appraisal very carefully. And the appraiser puts it in that documentation that they're under testing for pediatric cancer cluster, et cetera, et cetera. Then if somebody chooses to go to closing and still purchase the document, the title company then puts another disclosure at the time of closing. So there's ample opportunity for them to decide if this is a place that they still want to live, as far as several
But
disclosures
an actual
go.
document, they are not handed until
No, there's one at contract, so when you
At
go,
contract, that's
when you
what
go
I
to
was-
Yeah, it's a
sign your
requirement.
contract, it's required, it's there. Then as you go through the process, the appraisal is one of the first things that you start to order, and depending on the type of loan that it is, if it's an FHA, VA loan, there's water testing, septic testing, et cetera, that's involved. And then again, when you actually go, once the lender approves your loan and you actually go to the title company who has to pull clear title, there's recognition at that time of closing for that documentation too, that they have to be known. Nobody wants the liability of selling somebody a house where they didn't know this information up front. It's several layers. But I wanted to make a note in your presentation that when you look at the 26 were cash transactions, that tells me through my experience that is investors. That is investors who see an opportunity when property values are down, that this is a good buy for them, and they do extensive research to most of them, especially if they're with big corporations. They do extensive research, and they must see that in a few years they believe that this community will be viable again and that their investment will have a return. That's what the 26
There's a label
cash
for that,
transactions
right?
telling
There's
me.
every word, I can't think of, I think
I'm sorry?
Is there's a name for that type of investing too, but I can't think of.
Well, I don't believe right now in the acreage anybody purchases a home is for the purpose of flipping. I mean, you're going to have to, you know. And then I also wanted to make note that I want to emphasize what Carl was saying. At some point with the economy and the recession, the real estate market as a whole, and not just in the acreage, not just in Palm Beach County, not just in the state of Florida, but across the country, took a hit, and then it had plateaued for a while. And then in your assessment here, which I really appreciate, the acreage is a little unique. I have been speaking to real estate professionals and lenders throughout the state and the county. In other areas of the county, you are now going back the typical 3 to 5% increase. So I just wanted to emphasize that. No, you don't see it here right now, but you're right. It was starting to. So, you know, in the state of Florida as a whole, I think we've come to a plateau, and they're going to start increasing. Hopefully, never as overly inflated as the last few years, but at a normal, healthy rate. So it's just interesting information, and you know, I am at least satisfied to hear that property values are stabilized versus, you know, doing a continual decline.
But time is of the essence. I want to add something about the appraisals. There's a lot of training goes. You have to train people when the appraiser goes to a property. They have to denote something about this cluster in the appraisal. And I've seen some of the appraisers put 2 or 3 page dissertation, and they're going on about the many different kinds of cancers and whatever. And you know, an underwriter sees that, and it, you know, it's.
That's what I'm wondering.
You know, it blows it up, and you know, it's done. So the DEP summation, the 2-page summation, I hand that to the appraiser. I said, you know, the water testing has been done. We're waiting on soil testing, and they have to make some sort of dissertation. I can't tell them what to put in there, of course, but hopefully they research it a little bit, and you know, the loan doesn't get thrown out of underwriting. But a lot of that has been happening. You know, just because people are not educated, don't know what's happened, and you know, so time is of the essence if we are going to have any stability in our prices.
In note to that appraisal, as a follow-up, just from my experience, the new FHA and VA loans, it's new documentation that actually came out in January of last year. You can no longer, as a lender, order appraisals from a list of 10 appraisers who are familiar with the area. Unfortunately, you have to go in this pool now, so it could be somebody that's from Miami, it could be somebody that's from Fort Myers, or Fort Pierce, or somewhere like that. They take them as almost like a lottery pool, as long as they're licensed and certified, but that's what they're doing. So unfortunately, too, sometimes with these appraisers, you're now getting appraisers who are not familiar with the area, not familiar with the characteristics, not familiar with the fact that we're acre and a quarter, and it can also have its issues with coming up with a value.
I just want to thank Carl for what he's done. I too am a realtor. I've been here in Palm Beach County doing real estate for 38 years. Lived here in the acreage for 25 as well. And I do about 125 broker price opinions a month. A lot of them out here in the acreage. Same issues. I disclose to every lender that I'm doing broker price opinions that this cancer cluster is here. You have to. They want to know that. As long as it continues, it's going to affect values. One of the, just aside from the cancer cluster, just indulge me a minute, I'm concerned personally as a realtor that the $8,000 that's been handed as first-time home buyer, the down payments and stuff is now over. And I believe we may see another drop in values because of that, because that has superficially held up the market with a lot of young couples and people that could go out and take advantage of that in the last year or so, and now it's over. Having done this a long time, I'm concerned about that. So even if we see a little bit of turn down, Carl, it may not totally relate to the cancer cluster. It may just be market conditions. But I'm like you. I'm excited that values have held so far this year. I wish there were more sales. The top end market is the one really getting hurt over about 250,000. 300, 350, those houses aren't selling well at all. So, just for information.
I too want to just thank you for compiling this information, because I've seen a lot of internet discussion about it. I sort of cringe when I hear like somebody asking what I think is going to be a legal question that they should ask their lawyer, and then somebody trying to be helpful and giving them information. So I just want to say to you, when you have questions about what you should disclose to the buyer and when you should disclose it to the buyer, ask a lawyer.
I was
would
asking
say
a realtor that sells out here.
I work for a lawyer, we handle real estate matters, which is why I'm saying that.
We don't want to be sued either.
And I just want to point out, like, one of the homes that you have on your February to May of 2010 is actually the house right next door to me. And I'm going to tell you just, it's an anecdotal thing, but what happened is that the people during the height of the boom, they took out huge equity loans on the house, and they built another house up in Lake City. This is all pre the Acreage, cancer investigation, anything even being mentioned about cancer. And then for the next 2 years, they tried to sell the house, and they could not. The house went into foreclosure. It took forever and a day to go through the foreclosure process. Some company came in and bought the house for cash at a foreclosure sale for a ridiculously low amount. They put in new appliances, they painted, they made some minor repairs, they put up a mailbox, and they sold it, and it's on this list.
It's a sale.
It's a sale. It's a sale, and the people bought it, and they bought it. I went over and I spoke to them. Did you know about the Acreage Cancer Cluster? Yes. You weren't concerned? No, we don't drink the water. So, so I think there are people that still do want to live out here, and I think we still have some more foreclosures coming. As far as sales in other areas, I can tell you personally, my office has we've been involved in about 10 contracts over the last 3 weeks. 7 of them have fallen through because the buyer wants more than what the seller is going to. So, and none of them are out here.
I might add one more thing on the amount of sales for 2009, the same period. We are doing a lot more short sales at this point, and there's a lot of they sit pending for months. So that might be a contributing factor for only half the sales, but they just I've got a couple that have gone 6-7 months. So that might be a reason, but I didn't fine tune it that much. It would just wanted to do apples to apples and kind of show you. So there you have it.
Carl, my question is, of course we want the soil samples back, and we're hoping that they're good, but even with the water samples that came back, is the water sample where the county has said that it's relatively good, is that listed in your disclosure, and now you can add soil to that?
It is on the DEP summary page, and that is not in that disclosure. No, it is not. We need a clean bill of health from the testing that's done on the control homes and the pediatric homes. That's
so if the soil samples come back positive...
And if they don't, then we have a problem.
Right, but if they come back and they're positive, do they put that on the disclosure, or there's no more disclosure?
Well, that remains to be seen.
That's when you get the legal instrument from the Department of Health that's in with state and filed in the court that there was a contamination. So that has not happened.
There are clusters all around the country. Port St. Lucie had one 10 years ago.
Right.
They have, some realtors still use the disclosure just because they,
because it was there.
It was there, and so you don't want to be sued, so you disclose. So at some point we need to have someone say that currently there are no industrial or environmental hazards, and that's basically what we need to hear. And that's what
Also on a lot of the realtors, the owners of the companies will go to their own attorneys and provide their own disclosures to protect them and their clients.
Yep.
Even beyond what the state might recommend, it might be a blanket disclosure. As a realtor and an owner, when you have the liability potential, you usually will go to a good attorney and make sure that you've got a disclosure that's covering whatever you're trying to represent and to protect you and your clients. So that could vary from office to office.
Yep, we have a different one.
Mr. Chair.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Up and down this thing.
Thank you very much for this. It's nice to be able to see hard numbers rather than just sort of seeing some statements float around. Apart from the cluster statistical situation that we have out here, the acreage is very unique, so it's not necessarily for everyone. I was wondering, did you look at Jupiter Farms numbers, or would it be difficult to look at their numbers for the same periods of time and see if we're on par with them, or if there's any differences in their sales versus our sales?
I did not. I mean, it's usually you know, the market, you know, I don't just sell in the acreage. I mean, we're all Palm Beach, Wellington, Jupiter, and all over the county.
Could we look at that?
It's, well, I mean, it depends what area you want to, you know.
Maybe Jupiter Farms, because
I could do
it's kind of
Jupiter
similar.
Farms, see what,
And it has
see what
well,
the sale-
yeah, so. I think
see
it's-
what sales have done just from that period
The
of
same
time.
period of time that we're looking at for this here, yeah.
If you have time, Carl, I think that would be nice too.
Okay.
Then you can do it.
There's about, I don't know how many geo areas there are in the county. This is just 5540 and 5590. And that encompasses even Iron Horse, Carlton Oaks, Betty Hill, Rustic Lakes, a whole host of other areas, but I had to manually back those out and look at them because you can't just take that out really.
I don't think. Oh, so these weren't, sorry, these were just a couple of zip codes in the
This
acreage?
is 559, it's called a
Did I
realtor.
miss that somewhere?
That's
559, 0554.
Realtor
It's a
map.
realtor map.
Yeah.
It's a map, so I can't.
So
So
Carl,
I-
would you need help then, if you did that same thing for Jupiter Farms, would you just need somebody that's familiar
I
with the
can tell by
area?
addresses, you know, because we're,
Because I have somebody that could help you
Yeah.
that's
I can micro-
professional in Jupiter Farms.
yeah. I can do that.
Like, Carl, thanks for putting this together.
Yep.
And Nick, because you're both residents, I had a question for you. Did you see the article in the paper recently? I think it was the Palm Beach Post. Gary Nicholas was quoted, and it's not perfect, but he said something to the effect that he didn't see any appreciable difference from the acreage, in the acreage from the rest of Palm Beach County in terms of appraisal values.
Well, and that's evident in what I've found here. I mean, the prices have just kind of stayed level for 1 year. If you read and you look around, most of the things are starting to creep up a bit, and they were here too as well. I can't show you that physically. I mean, but they were prior to this happening. So his assumption is probably a little misaligned. You know, I mean, I think we've stayed level.
I would agree with that. I do broker price opinions from Jupiter to High Bluffs or Red. So, and it also varies. Like I say, I do 100, an average probably 125 a month, and it really determines on what the market. You find little pockets that are even still moving very quickly, particularly in the lower end houses where they've been handed the $8,000. They're all selling. They're all selling because people, young couples that couldn't even afford a house 3 years ago now can afford one. They got a cheap mortgage and they're being handed an $8,000 down payment. So those houses are all selling. Now, if you take areas like Olympia and places like that, the vultures are having a field day because those houses that were worth $600,000 or $700,000 are now selling for $350,000 and $400,000. The vultures are buying them up, figuring they're going to come back at some point. So I mean, it's and I have to account for all this stuff as a realtor when I do these BPOs. That's stuff the banks want to know. But it really is. The acreage is soft. There's a lot of foreclosures still happening out here. There's a lot of, as Carl already said, most of the sales, probably 90% are short sales, probably.
Yeah,
you say
not that many, you know.
80% at least are short sales.
They take so much time.
You know, they take forever to close. The deals that you pull today versus comps that are sold, most of them went under contract 6 months ago. So the effective date of the sale was 6 months ago. You just been waiting on the banks to decide whether to do the deals or not. So there's a lot of dynamics today in the market. It's not a true, we are not in a true real estate market. We're in a press market, countywide.
Mr. Chair, I know that we have spoken at one point about possibly inviting a realtor or broker from St. Lucie to find out from them how they had recovered from their original, but my understanding is they were never actually declared a cluster. And I actually read 3 weeks ago in the newspaper that because the government felt that that study was done incorrectly, they're reopening that investigation into St. Lucie. So I don't really know that they're out of the woods yet, quite frankly. But I'd really be interested to hearing from somebody in that business to find out, you know, what did they do and how did they you know, how do they fare and that kind of thing.
Carl,
I've tried reaching out, I've done a couple different people, but I haven't gotten much luck.
Yeah.
But I'll continue to do
We can keep beating that bush and see if we can get somebody from up there, so it would be great to know.
Leanne, did you have somebody? No?
No, I was just saying that to take a look at the area. But I'm going to talk to a realtor that I know that may be able to.
Great. Fantastic. Okay. Okay.
Well, I think under your next subject, future guest speakers, you have plenty now. Because you discussed South Florida Water Management District coming back, and you discussed cancer registry. And I'm just being the mean one. I'm just reminding everybody that we're 12 minutes.
Does anybody have comments written down from the group? If they want to pass up, go ahead and pass them on. Bill?
From the audience.
Yeah, that's okay. Go ahead. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think you should still.
No, I was just making a statement. I learned a lot compiling all these questions from everybody. I'm now more educated on the subject of South Florida Water Management District than I was before I got these questions. I was able to spend a little bit of time investigating some things that questions on. I said, that's interesting, and I would go check it out. So it helped a lot. What I also learned from it is that there's an incredible wealth of information sitting at this table. Environmental expertise, history, the whole bit. And for 90 days, I think that perhaps we could consider not being so adamant in our position to start sharing some of this information with each other in a more, in a manner which is almost, you know, conducive to getting this done. I really feel that things that I'm hearing, especially what I heard today, is, in my mind, is borderline on a criminal act almost. And I'm not trying to exaggerate things or blow out proportion, but I know that I've got experience with FAA and plating facilities, and I don't know of an entity ever in my, probably it was the first time I've ever heard the word self-monitored. I mean, it's amazing that that can happen, and I know now that the health department, or at least the county, knew about something at some point in time, and yet did not communicate that. But my point being is that when I collect all these questions, you and I had this discussion about, you know, our methodology. I'm talking about getting all these guest speakers and how it conceivably could be a 9-month, a year-long process to get everybody in. And I thought maybe if it hasn't been shared with the panel yet, whether anyone wants to consider changing the protocol and how we go after our guest speakers. My thought was the opposite end of the spectrum is we compile all the questions we have for every entity, and we just hit DOH with all of them and say, you know, if we're going to give it, you know, this is what we think, this is what we accept, and these are the questions we have left. And let's see how it goes.
Okay, a conceivable topic that we could think of.
Right. I think that the task of getting those questions together, I think, would bring all of us at this panel to a much higher level of education and knowledge to begin with. And I think we'll be able to accept the information and respond to it with a lot more knowledge than otherwise, because it's going to get a real long duration. And the second question I had with the questions I put together is everyone happy with the way I deciphered and presented those questions?
Absolutely. You did
I
a
thought it was
fabulous
awesome.
job.
Because
Yeah.
I did delete some that I consider were duplicates,
Right.
or that I did reword, I split them up, you know what I'm saying? So if anybody has more questions or whatever, please get them to me. My understanding is that South Florida Water Management District said that they should be able to put something together. And I'm not holding, I wouldn't hold it, but maybe by midweek, end of week, next week.
Right.
So there's a good chance that maybe early the following week, depending on the
I
schedule.
spoke with them today, and I don't see that. Let's give them the flexibility so we have that right. I hear what you're saying.
I don't know when that meeting would be, but
Right. No, I hear what you're saying, but let them analyze it. I think it's a lot more than they thought. And there's overlapping departments. And if you're familiar with government, it just takes a little bit longer. So let's not hold them to a week and a half.
Well,
but maybe instead of meeting 4 weeks, you can meet like 3 weeks or something like that.
Exactly what I'm saying. I think that it's going to take them a while. They're going to have to get other people, other agencies involved to respond and so forth.
All right.
So,
Okay.
Trish?
Just in the thought of compiling all the questions all at one time, I have to say, like, I have like just a general list of questions, and then depending on who it is that we're talking about, then and I'm still learning new information, and we had new information introduced again tonight. So I think it would be difficult to just compile one huge list right now and say, these are the questions we have, because we always have continuing new information that's coming forward, so.
But I just believe
You know, we
that,
could have some general questions, I think, that can be compiled all at once and submitted and maybe get them all answered, but.
well, I think it would take us sitting together as a panel, bringing our questions together and discussing them openly with each other, because like I said, you may bring up a question, I'll start taking one off my list.
Right.
You may share some, like you share some with me, I'll take another one off my list. I think we need to work together to come out of this list. I don't think any one person could simply take them and then produce a total list.
But I think you're a perfect example of how it worked appropriately. Everybody submitted the questions and then you deleted duplication, used common logic.
On a single subject, I think it can be done by one person. But if we all come out with 60 questions.
Yeah.
But my point is you know, that was kind of what I was trying to say with my quick lead on this. I mean, everybody, it's at the end of the day, no matter what we present, it comes back here at some point for open discussion. But it's a volunteer group, so we're all going to have to take a lead on something in our either background or expertise, or maybe it's my contact, or maybe it's Karen's contact, or kind of like what you did, you know. So somebody's going to have to take a lead. We just need to delegate all those different ones and then work through the chair and then make sure that we have the appropriate
I agree.
agency
I believe
involved.
that my question really comes as one is the way we're going, which I think is fine, Scott. I mean, we're in control, we're good.
Yeah, I
There
think
is that other option if people feel that it's taking too long.
What about, I know it was talked about where we were going to meet in an outside setting?
Yeah,
Go over some questions.
we can
like
still
that?
try just probably
Agenda review.
getting everybody together. Yeah, it gets tough.
Okay.
It gets, I mean, it's a stretch to get everybody here for this one. Okay.
I did have one more question about how we were going to handle the questions from the audience. And I know, again, I don't know how many questions you collected. If we have a specific guest here, are we going to at least try and get those questions asked and answered from that guest while we're here?
Yes, we can certainly do that. Absolutely. Yeah, I know we have new comment cards, much larger, and plenty of room to write and submit those. And we can answer them.
I just want to make sure the public knows. Usually I'm at a meeting as a member of the public.
Right,
So I want to
okay. Get close here, Andrew. Yes. Go ahead.
Michelle.
I'm going over a calendar, I'm sorry.
Well, this is important. I want you to put it on everybody else's. With the thing that Henry and I put together on the water quality, what I would hope is that if there's disagreement with this, and certainly there could be, then I think it'd be a good idea for us or anybody to bring their concerns. Maybe like tonight, the attorney presented that information about the
2001
possible
report.
contamination next to Pratt. Well, there has to be some type of a hypothesis on how that could impact this area and why it didn't show up in those wells. So it'd be good to say, okay, well, here's a possibility, maybe it ought to be explored. And that's why this, we feel, is not complete.
That's correct.
Because
And that's why I think
that's what I think is
Bill's
important next
suggestion
step.
of waiting 90 days before we probably get to where we're making suggestions, where we're folding up one chapter and move to the next. I don't think
that.
that's...
I don't know if I have time limit to it,
Well-
but at some point in time where we feel we do have it.
Right. But you know, that's what's good about this focus group is if we get to this point where the group is saying, yes, we agree with this, but something comes up, there's nothing wrong here tonight what we did by saying we're going to be responsible, we're all going to go back and read that document, we're going to have another discussion on it. There's nothing wrong with it. That's what this group is designed for. That was the whole purpose, is to educate the community. If something comes up that we weren't aware of, we're going to go back and look at it because we all want to be responsible, every one of us here, no matter what our opinions are. So we'll bring it back. I know I'm going to read it as thick as it might be. I know you definitely are. You know what I mean? Everybody's going to take the time to do it. So there's nothing wrong with it. We may get to a point after the soil testing comes out, everybody reads it, we might be prepared to do the same thing and something else might come up. That is why this focus group was formed. Leave no stone unturned. I think I said that the first time we had the meeting. I know the representative said that. I know Governor Chris has said that. I know the Department of Health said that. So, that's the whole job. We accomplished exactly what this focus group was designed to bid for. And there's a reason why everybody has those different backgrounds on this focus group. That was also the point of having realtors and environmentalists and and different people with different backgrounds. It was the whole point so we can have intelligent discussions.
Right, but I just want to say, just because we didn't all agree on the way it was worded is not a reflection on you. It's just how we feel right now, given the information that we have. We're still very appreciative of all the work you did do.
I'm taking it personally.
You got big shoulders.
No, you did a great job on it. You did.
Okay, it looks like June 17th is the earliest we can do it next because of scheduling conflicts.
There's scheduled conflicts. Oh, I'm not even going to be here the 17th. There's scheduled conflicts the third week here at the district.
So June 17th.
What about the 6th and not the 16th?
Unless we want to change it.
16th is a Tuesday?
Wednesday.
Even Tuesday the 15th is fine, or Monday the 14th.
15th, oh, I can't be here on the 15th, I've got a campaign event.
I have something to do too.
Because
What
of
about the
Monday.
14th, which is Monday? Is that good?
Monday the 14th.
Tracy, what did you just say?
Which
Not
is
the
less than
14th?
4 weeks.
Not the 17th.
Okay.
14th good, Monday fine, Monday the 14th?
Monday the 14th. Anyone?
I don't have my calendar, so I'm of no help.
Shoot for Monday the 14th.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
One last thing, and I don't know if we're jumping into what you went to as far as comments in the group. During the night, someone came up with a suggestion when we started talking about PSA, and I would like to mention, I would like to think that the health department is listening to this and that they picked up on this. I think the PSA is strongly required in this community for the mere reason that, forget the filters and all that other stuff. The well maintenance and and safety with wells is really an uneducated subject up here. Many people don't realize that when your wellhead floods and it puddles, you're supposed to go under boiled water methods. I have had more people I didn't know, and people in this community, I've seen more wellheads flooded.
I've experienced that
Let's
personally.
do that as let's do that as a separate evening though. Let's do that like the focus group doing a PSA with.
What the health department should be doing.
No, I
is
hear
they should
you.
be tomorrow, they can go do this, right? They already have that information.
But
They
you can
already know.
host it and allow them to be the lead, and you can have them invite the expert, and you can go somewhere where there's a large audience, invite everybody, just not there in the panel in the format that we are, but have everybody come in and listen to that presentation. And Commissioner Santa Maria said that he would offer that full page ad, so we can utilize that too for that evening and do it a special evening on that as a, for education.
About the 14th of June, I don't know how much.
I'm not talking about the 14th of June, I'm just talking about, could do it in August when the kids come back.
Yeah, but I don't think we should. We're already in a higher rainy season now than we had in years, and we're getting flooding now. I believe that ITID has a problem with drainage now. People are being affected now. I wouldn't wait too long. The people need to know if their wells that's flooded, they're supposed to boil their water. I mean, that should be now, you know what I'm saying?
And I don't think we need to just stop there. I mean, I think doing the meeting is having a meeting with a large crowd is wonderful to educate them, but I don't think the Department of Health should stop there. Obviously, maintaining the well has been an issue for many people, not just people on this panel. They need to take it a step further so that in another 10 years, we're not back to the same point that we are right now.
I guess all I was saying is, and I don't mean that we actually would do the work or even sit up on the panel, but it would be nice that what we've learned from this so far is the education on the whole purpose of a water treatment system per household. Because I can remember when I first moved here, people who didn't have them at all. But instead of having them come here as a guest speaker, that you could do it as a separate event. It doesn't require this panel to do any work other than be the hosting factor. The commissioner suggested that he would be willing to do a full page ad and just have somebody with the cooperation of the Department of Health have come out and just do basically a class or a presentation, if you want to call it, on maintaining a good well system and bring up what you're talking about, boiling water. I think that would be great to have on a separate
Well, in
evening.
just South Florida water management, if you look at all those questions everybody has submitted, it teaches you so much about your community, and I'm wondering if something like that at Seminole Ridge needs to be held. Maybe just that meeting, our focus group meeting for that night.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I don't mean that necessarily questions and answer. I just mean where you know that on June 5th, you're going to go up to Norwich High School from 9 to, well, not 9, but 7 to 9, it's, somebody's going to be there and they're going to inform you about your water treatment system and tell you why all the different components are, why you use potassium, blah, 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 and the salt, the filter, and then talk about
That
that.
information is currently available right now in the office, at the health department office up on Seminole Drive.
Yeah, but we need
It's
to
there,
have
but
it
it needs to be
here.
distributed in volume. so that
We
you
can't
can-
have it here, we need to have it at the cancer center.
They already have the stuff ready. It's already
Okay,
there.
so we'll get it. I hear
Through
you.
the chair on that point, because I think Diana had a very good idea about putting up a website. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's gonna be watching.
No, I mean,
I thought I got shut
on,
down, so I kind of left it alone.
no, actually, I thought it was a good idea, just not Facebook, because I don't use Facebook. I didn't Twitter either, and I don't Twitter. So I don't know what that possibility is of maybe. I understand there's sites out there at like $5 a month, and I'll, pay.
Are you talking about a public site or a private site?
A private site for our group to put up that kind of information. I've seen that information that they have at the health department. It's there for the public, but unless you go into their office, nobody's going to see it. But you could take that information and put it up on the website. I have no idea how to make one, so we'll let Diana do that.
Everybody's looking at you.
Yes, well, I know, I am the geek in the family after all.
All right, we do have to close the meeting.
Yes, not too bad.
So we're Monday the 14th?
Monday the 14th.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I have to cut these.